Hey everybody, it's your boy Jared T here for another live episode on Huddle In, and I am joined today by a special guest, the GOAT Rizzle. If you know, you know. Thank you so much for joining us, man. How you feeling?
Feeling great, man. Appreciate we've done a couple of things like this before, but it's been a little while. So it's always nice to circle back and do the thing, man. So stoked to sit down and talk with you.
For sure, for sure. And you've had some big events lately that we can dig into, and um, I know there's a lot that goes into that logistically and otherwise, and you made it through. Nobody died. You even got some physical activity in there, so all good. But I guess for posterity's sake, for those that don't know, man, I think if we looked up like OG in the dictionary, like this would be there. But if you can, just give a little background for anybody that checks in now or after the fact.
All right. Me in general, are we talking about Rizzlefest or
Let's
how
start with
far
you.
back?
Let's start with you, and then we'll dig
Okay.
into Rizzlefest.
All right. Let's see, man. Really got fascinated with crypto very, very early on, just as like a tech nerd, and believed in the general concept. Starting like 2012, 2013, I like dove in hard, just like tinkering around with things, just all up in the forums, just like really fascinated with the movement in general. And Rizzle had always been like my anon like screen name, and so I wasn't like really doxxed until many years later.
By Gary
NFTs. What's that?
by Gary V.
By Gary Vee, yes. Um, so that's funny, actually. True story. So anyway, man, fast forward to NFTs came out, and that's when I felt like it combined like a lot of things that I really loved outside of crypto. Once like the artists flooded into the space, and like a lot of really interesting creators started doing different things with NFTs. So I was there for like inception of like crypto art and NFTs and like the blockchain based metaverse and everything. And had been a super fan ever since. And so by proxy of that, one thing just led to another as I continued to dive deeper into the space. I've been doing this weekly metaverse meetup with my buddy Matt, producing that for years now, and have had like everyone you could think of in Web3 come across the stage at one point or another. Same thing with the podcast that we do together, and that those things led to me co-founding NFT 42 with Jim McNellis, and that spawned a host of subsidiary companies. Um, Now, which are mostly under the Nameless brand, which is like doing well. But I then moved on from that to launch my own project and continue to do my own things. Teamed up with Monaverse as of late to help them out, and pulled off most recently one of my larger independent projects, Rizzlefest. I'm repping the shirt that Metafins gave out to all the people who fished. So I don't know, man. I'm just been around forever and always interested in doing interesting things in the space with the cool tech we got to play with.
Yeah, man, I love it, and like considering everything that you've been around for and everything that you've done, that's a very, very concise description. So,
Thank you.
bravo there.
Working on it. It's taken a long time to figure out what the hell I've done, man. So I'm getting better at it.
Yeah, and I wanna encourage anybody too, so, like, the cool thing about you doing everything with Matt and even with Sandy when you guys did the podcast that you and Sandy did for a long time, um, anybody can go catch up on that. So, if you want to, like, go deep dive, like, I've listened to a bunch of those, and, we first crossed paths, I wanna say it was in Discord. I don't know, man, me just bugging people and doing shit in Discord, and then we finally met, in person. I want to say it was NFT NYC 21. So when it was the winter time, like it was like the first time everything was like back from COVID for a little while. Um, and that was a new experience for me, but I think you had been kind of on the same energy where it's like, conference is cool because you get to meet everybody, but really like the fun side of things and what everybody started getting into was meeting up with everybody, all the side events and all this and that. And that led to that wild that wild concert that we saw outside of the club. I can't remember the club name, but Louis was on top of this unicorn bus, followed by Spotty Wi-Fi, and then Rizzle rode around, looked like he was freezing for God knows how long with Easy and like a bunch of the
It was
crew, Anna
fun though.
Diorio, all those people. Um, and I think that, maybe there was maybe it was before that, maybe it was that maybe the idea was planted in your mind, like yo, let's do a conference that's like kind of an anti-conference, really. We all come here for the side events. Let's make it one big side event. And that was the most recent endeavor that you had alluded to just now, where you guys really dug into it and like set it all up. So we'll start real high level. What was that like, from logistics to insurance to like just everything? Like, because I can guarantee like there would be something that I would miss, but what was that like for you trying to put together something that big?
It was difficult for me in the sense that I really had to put my trust in a lot of other people who knew how to execute certain things that were like way out of the realm of my expertise. So I had this vision in my head of like what I generally wanted it to be like. And a lot of people like glommed onto that idea. So, I very early on, I was like, if I can manage to pull this thing off or put it together, I think people will show. So it's like if you build it, they will come type of thing is sort of what it felt like. And after, conversations with people, I sort of just felt like I wanted to see if I could do it too, because I'm like, this is like literally the type of thing that I want to go to more than the actual conferences at this point, because, like you had said, after a certain point, it had become about going to the conferences, to go to the side events, to chase down people that you're trying to meet up with. And, it's like a game of tag or whatever, the whole time. So a lot of people like the idea. And so I sort of launched it out there, man. And Lawson from Rah Rah Social put me in contact with Sky Bravo, who immediately latched onto the idea and liked, where my head was at with it, and had like some level of experience putting together stuff in this same vein. And also some connections with like campgrounds and areas that he was able to be on the ground floor of, and sort of be that person, sussing out a lot of the logistical details and everything. So he and I worked very closely together for like almost 10 months, meeting up and trying to coordinate all the logistics. And having never done anything like this before, there's a lot of like ideation and trying certain things and then backtracking, but now that we've done it, man, and we feel like it was pretty successful, people had a good time, all that learning curve is out of the way if we were ever going to do it again. And it seems like we got to, man. A lot of people really enjoyed themselves, and now knowing what we're doing and what to expect takes a lot of the unknowns out of the way. So it was a bit scary. It was a bit overwhelming at times, but I can honestly say, man, it was like legit fun. Like I really wanted to put on like a fun event that was low stress but like high reward, that I could also go to and like not have to feel like I'm like, running around with a clipboard, like pointing people towards workshops and everything. Like, there was some like, loose structure set in place early on. But a lot of it was very free form and free flowing, but that worked because everyone was in the same place, like side conversations and break offs, naturally happened within the context of like the different activities were going on, or just like the chill time where you got a bunch of Web3 nerds in the same place, man. I'm like, what else are we going to talk about? Right.
Yeah, and it's funny because I know Kane was supposed to be there, and congrats to Kane. We'll say it publicly. Kane did have his son was born, so congrats to Kane. And so I know Kane wishes he could be there, and if nothing else, you got to run it back so Kane can make an appearance. Um,
Definitely. Yes.
just out of curiosity, how did you settle on Tennessee?
Um, Basically path of least resistance. Sky Bravo was familiar with that specific camp, and in between our sort of ideation phase and Rizzlefest actually happening, he hosted like a mini event at that camp, and so was able to sort of do like a micro test run of the lay of the land, and came back after that, and he was like, "Dude, this is the place. It's going to be dope." And it was honestly like I showed up really having no idea of what to expect. But the camp spot was nice, man. There was like I made a lot of jokes about like the sus cabins, which were like definitely a sleeping option, and they weren't that bad. The mattresses were actually pretty comfortable. But there was also like a nicer dorm area, and the kitchen was nice, and they basically gave us like free run of the facility like the whole time we were there. So like, you know, you walk in the morning and like Brooke Hawk's like making some coffee and Steady's doing some dishes, and like, you know, it was cool like that we just got to hang out and do our thing the whole time. We had a, you know, big old fire going the whole time. It was like cool camp vibes.
Yeah, love that. You know, I can't lie. When you took the video of the sus, like the cabin or whatever, I was like, yo, this looks like Friday the 13th status over here. I don't know what's going on, but glad it all worked out. No crazy serial killers on the loose. Let's talk about some of the events that you got into. You know, since we got to play basketball together at VCon last year, obviously, like I'm interested in that. So I saw you guys got some basketball going, and it sounds like somebody just dominated in the finale. So I'll let you get into the details of that. But then, you know, talk to me about like some of the other details that went on. I know you mentioned fishing, but and, you know, anything else that was cool that you guys did.
Yeah, man. We had a little bit of rain on one of the evenings, and therefore all of the athletic activities got pushed to the same day. So like day three ended up being like Rizzlefest Sports Day, and people, I think everyone was like wrecked by the end of the day, man. At the we had like Meme Explorers dodgeball, which like early on, which I don't know, sounded like it was going to be less intense than it was, man. But like everyone is very competitive. At least the people who came to Rizzlefest, man. Like you put all them in one space against each other with a bunch of dodgeballs in their hands, and no one's you know, playing half-assed. So that was fun, man. And then Brookhawk organized a basketball tournament that was legit, man. He had like brackets and teams, and like there were really just a handful of people who you know, couldn't or didn't want to play or whatever, and so they actually got to like I forget what the game show is or whatever, but they got to pick a team to be on and like root for, basically. So like even if you weren't playing ball, you were like involved in the tournament in some way, like rooting for your team from the sidelines and everything. And so we had round robin. I think there were at least 4 teams. There might have been 6 teams of 3-on-3. I think there were 6 teams. Yeah, 18. Anyway, man, it went on for like a decent amount in the afternoon. A lot of people got some basketball skills up their sleeve, including Brooke Hawk, who organized this. Him and I ended up in the finals, guarding each other. And he like said some shit in my ear. He's like, Riz, I know how competitive you are, man. I'm not letting you like, you know, get this one past. But the story was Trizlet's wife, Michelle, just crushed Trizlet, man. He was on my team, and apparently his wife has like prior sports experience in basketball, like significant sports experience, but hasn't played in a number of years. But anyway, man, it didn't matter. Trizlet was probably wrecked from dodgeball or whatever, and it looked like his feet were planted on the ground, and Michelle just dominated us and won the finals for them with scoring like half the buckets or whatever. So
That's amazing. She really had that energy built up. She's like, watch, I've been waiting for this.
yeah, it was funny, man, because like there was like sort of this ongoing thing. Actually, Brookhawk was sort of throughout the course of the weekend was like, Michelle needs like a metaverse nickname. She doesn't really have like whatever, and you know, sort of like, I don't know, man. I feel like it'll manifest itself by the end of this thing. We'll just know. And after that, it was like Michelle Jordan or Michelle O'Neal. She's like, you know, now closely associated with her hoop dominance.
Love it. I love it. Did we get any music? Was anybody singing or anything like that out there?
Dude, we had what I think is actually a good thing, in that at the very last minute, man, a few of the musicians who were very excited to come and perform just weren't able to make it, including Kane. And so we did have music, man. Dude, Falenz is like incredible on the guitar. The muralist who was painting the Avagachi painting, Alex, is like low key also incredible on the guitar. There's like a lot of people who just like pick up the guitar, and you were just like, oh, so you are an incredible musician. I, you know, had no idea. So there's like a lot of that going on. We had like speakers, you know, playing some music at different times or whatever. But a lot of like the, you know, sort of headline music acts weren't able to make it for one reason or another, which I think was fine, man, because there's so much stuff going on, even though it was like pretty laid back, that we really didn't like need it this time around. But it would be really dope to run it back next year and have that. Like that would be like a completely, awesome spin on, what we did the first time around, and want to make sure if we do it again, there's, we got different stuff lined up, even if it's in like, same location or something like that. So there was music, man, but it was like, loosely, spontaneously organized music. But want to run it back with some, stuff queued up.
For what it's worth, man, like we definitely, you could have got handed the mic straight to Sandy because I've heard Sandy sing and it's actually pretty good. So she could have brought it together though too. I know she might hide behind it up from the karaoke side, but yeah.
Dude, Sandy, I don't know if you caught any of the posts or whatever, but Sandy brought this like neon, like dark suit or whatever that she changed into at night and was like doing this improv like light show or whatever. And she had like all these like glow in the dark things and everything. It was like pretty insane. I had no idea like that was even happening, but I don't know, man. It was just one of these things. It seemed like it was one of these things that like everyone sort of brought something to the table. Planet Banks brought like all these like arts and crafts and stuff that like people were playing around with. And I don't know, man. It was cool. It was a little cultish, but it was like good cult vibes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, no Kool-Aid, we're good. Um, no, dude, I love it. It sounds beautiful. I wish I could have been there. I actually looked it up. I think it was like a 5-6 hour drive for me, but it's one of those things where uh I think we talked about this in advance. It probably wasn't the best place to bring kids, so I didn't bring. I couldn't bring my daughter with me, type of thing. So it's all good though.
It
Hopefully,
turned out to be the right call, by the way. It's like, for a little while we were going back and forth, like, oh man, like I have kids, so in a lot of ways it would have been more convenient if I had brought kids. But then like we got there and we are like, it's a good idea. This is just adults.
yeah, yeah. Well, having kids there just adds a whole nother dynamic to things. So probably a good calling, and from a legal standpoint, probably way easier to not have to worry about little ones running around. Um, we'll shift gears a little bit here. Um, you have all these different things going on all the time. I feel like all your regular stuff, your Mona stuff, all these different things. And right now, I feel like we're right in the middle of a new meme coin season, again. And just wanted to see how you what your outlook is for I guess things in general right now. It's a very vague question, but how do you feel about I guess kind of the current environment of things, and what are you kind of seeing as like the next iteration of like what we're headed to? It seems like there's going to be a real heavy like AI slash blockchain like integration. You know, progress like very rapidly here. So, but yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think the next thing is going to be something like along those lines. You see a lot of like really smart people in the space, like tinkering around with that tech and like the overlap of those things. And I truly believe like a lot of the people we work alongside within this space are some of the smartest people in tech and in the world right now. And so putting that combination of things in like these people's hands, I think we're going to see some like really crazy stuff come out of it. But the meme coin explosion again is fascinating, man. I was there. I feel like this is second or third cycle now where this type of thing has really exploded, and it's very similar to the previous times. And I don't know, man. A lot of people have a lot of negative things to say about meme coins, but like it's like part of the culture and the history at this point. Like whether you like it or not, it's and a lot of people over the years have made a lot of money off a lot of shit coins and done a lot of good things with that, or like dumped it back into like really interesting stuff and everything. So I don't know, man. I'm not a hater. I ultimately think it's nice to see some cash flowing back into the industry in like some form or fashion or whatever. And I like to think people who know what they're doing are able to also make some money outside of like the pump and dump grifters, like all the people who are doing that kind of thing. But over the years, it also tends to be that uh, people we like in the space do all right with these kind of things too. And so I sort of hope that happens, man. It's been like a very long bear season or whatever for a lot of people. So I'm like, hey man, chasing hype coins is a very risky business, but I'm not hating on anyone who's able to do that. But it is interesting, man, because I feel like also, it's been a while since this has happened, and we've got a lot of people in this space now who have never really experienced that before. So the combination of like people have seen this and sort of been there, done that, and like the FOMO crowd who, thinks this is new when it's like really, sort of the foundation of like, all the weirdness. I don't know, man. It's interesting times, but I think AI eats everything on like a long enough continuum, and it'll be interesting. I don't see like really anything beyond AI that's like super fascinating that would appeal to like outsiders at this point. I feel like there's a lot of like cool people doing like really interesting things, but I feel like the the super fans of like the tech, like that crowd has always been much smaller than like the speculators and that type of crowd. So there's always like cool stuff going on, but in terms of like what will make like a huge impact, I think the AI, everyone's sort of scratching at it, and it's going to be like what really lands.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and I agree with you, and just to touch on where you were talking about with, like, the meme coins, and I remember in 2016, 2017, and just trading these pumps and, like but I think what a lot of people don't realize is, like, "Oh, this is so cool," but it takes a lot of energy, like, it really does, like, you have to be super attentive, you gotta watch it, and, like, it's real easy to lose whatever you put into it, in a snap. So there's a lot there, and part of why I was wanted to frame you up with it is because obviously, like you're here, you see everything going on. I want to talk into some of your AI creations, which have been fun to watch. But even before that, it's funny because a year ago, a year and a half ago, shit, even 6 months ago, we used to see all these things from Meta talking about how much they were getting to metaverse stuff and NFTs and all these things, and then they scrapped it all. And now I see these ads from them, and they're like, AI is the future, and all these integrations with AI, and it's just so funny because like I feel like if you stick around long enough, you can actually like watch
Yeah.
everybody move the trends down the way. It's super interesting how everybody kind of falls in line, and then everything's got its cycle and whatnot. But anyway, I do want to talk about your AI creations. So you really been getting after it lately, and so now I feel like you're being able to scratch a couple itches. You're a tech lover. You've had your on chain chains, your work with fly frogs, all these different things, but now you're actually like creating art too. So what's that been like?
Uh, Dude, super fun and like totally addictive. I mean, I always liked generative art, like in the first place, like, and was always like sort of a sucker, going back to Avastars with like the scrolling and, art blocks and everything. Like the idea of like generative art is really cool. And, being able to sort of like unlock that in some way with like AI for me, where I can just sort of like continue to generate and iterate based on like ideas of my head, it's just like so fun, man. And so and my kids like to mess around with it. They're like, hey, can I try some prompts or something like that? And it's like, and some of the stuff that they come out with is like really dope too. So it's just been like really fun, man, to be able to in general. And I kept making a bunch of stupid things and people like them. And I did I eventually got to a certain point where I was like, shit, I have like all this stuff, like people like it. I might as well like mint some of them and just, put it out there and see what happens. And, I sold a decent amount of editions now, man. I think I have like 250 holders or something of like, different AI. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and nothing, it's all been like, pretty low cost. I don't know, $20 or something like that. I just more like, I don't know. It's cool. It's cool to be able to, I don't know, take an idea in my head, put it out there. And even if I've done like, some free drops and everything too, but you still have to pay for gas for it. So I'm like, dude, the fact that someone would even pay like at the time, like $5 gas or something for this, like weird thing I was able to create in my head that they identified with or liked in like some form or fashion or whatever was like really really cool. So dude, I can drop some alpha, man. I actually just finished earlier today my async forever supper layers that are going to be coming out. I don't know when, man. I got to like literally plug it into the pipeline this afternoon, but I finished uploading like all the things. And so that'll come out. I don't know when, but so it's led to that, man. I'm like, shit, dude. Now I'm doing an async drop, man. And I like went from like, just sort of fucking around with AI and, seeing what goofy things I can create. But I have, I don't know if it makes me an artist in any way, man, but this is this is what my wife said to me. She's like, for being a fake artist, you sure practice like whatever you do a hell of a lot. And it's true, man. If I'm gonna put something out there on async, like I want it to be like tight. You know what I mean? I want it to at least be something that I would look at and be like, I think that's cool. So
Well, congrats, dude. Async said like that's a good one. Obviously, like that's a great placement right there. Um, and I can't wait to see it. Curious, have you looked into like the animation of the AI? So like a few of the people that I talked to, so like I know there's lots of people to do it, but like two of the ones that I talked to a little more regularly are Ja and Andre O'Shea, and like they're really good. Like Andre O'Shea is like did the Cinderella reenactment. I don't know if you've seen it.
I don't think I've seen that one, but I would
Dude, I'll
love
send
to.
it to you. And he
Yeah.
actually just found out yesterday it's going to be on display at VCon this year, which I won't be there this year, so I won't see it there. But it's really good. So he takes the original Disney movie, like from the 50s, and he like completely recreated it using AI and his own interpretations of
Oh
it, and
shit.
it's like seamless. It's so
Yeah.
good. So I wanted to see if have you started to dabble in like animating them at all?
Dude, I've dabbled in a lot of them, but I'm also like this is not my wheelhouse, man, in terms of like editing skills and like photo like I'm like I had to do like a couple things in Photoshop recently and it was like literally the first time I've ever used it before. And I'm like, I'm like so slow with
There's
it.
a learning curve for sure.
Yeah, man. But so saying that to say, man, like I need these. I love all these tools, but like I need them to be pretty dead simple in order for me to like take advantage of them in the way that I want to. So like I'm on like the beta list or whatever for so many of these things, and so I'm like constantly getting emails like try. It's your time to try our thing, or we updated our new thing. Try it and see what it's like. And I haven't found anything at least like video related that I like feel really good about or that's like really intuitive or that I've like come up with like some really great like use case for. But I'm like here for it, man. I like all this stuff is super fascinating to me. I have messed around with some of the 3D modeling apps,
Mm.
that sort of like use AI to sort of help with the 3D render, and you can pull the GLBs and use them in the metaverse spots and everything, and that's been pretty cool, man. And that tech is like improved crazy rapidly in the past 6 months or so.
There's one I think they were calling it, and I'm not super adept on all these, but like Nerf, like this Nerf system where like you record the whole thing and then exactly what you said, you can plug it into something else and like it looks super real. Like it you
Yeah, it's
wouldn't
nuts.
know otherwise. Um, One bug I want to put in your ear because I remember you did this. It was either a year or two ago. Your son made a really cool picture of something. It was like a bacon monster or something like that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I need to see some renderings
Mm.
of the bacon monster, and I feel like he can do it. He can pull it off. So
Oh, dude, this is a good idea. I completely forgot about that. Brookhawk actually like pulled the bacon monster out and like put it in some gifs and something. There was like some bacon monster memes going on for a little bit there. All right, this is a good idea, man. I'll go back to the drawing board when we're done.
yeah, yeah, and he'll be into it. I love to do that too with my kid, and it's one thing when they used to sit there and the scrolling. Like I remember going through the scrolling with my kid on Avastars and whatnot. She loved it. She's like, "Oh, that one! Oh, that one! Oh, that one!" Or we'd look at all the different NFTs. But now, with AI making it so easy for them to actually hop in and they can contribute their own art to it, it's pretty cool. So, um, yeah, I won't hold you much longer, man. I appreciate you hopping on. I do want to leave the floor with you. Anything that you want to say, like for any dates that we should be looking out for, whether that's Mona, whether it's your own stuff, whether it's anybody else that you want to shout out, it's all yours.
Um, Yeah, man, doing all the things. Probably the best place to keep up with everything is on my Twitter handle at NFTland. Back every week with the whip. Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern time. That's sort of like the beating heart of my whip of my week, where every week we got different guests and speakers on, but like a lot of the same crew and audience comes out, and it's a good time. So those are probably like the easiest places to find me. I don't think it's been officially announced, but I am going to be in Spain in mid-July to host this conference again, NFT Crossroads, with the Polygonal Mind fam and everything. So I'm super looking forward to that. But that's between me and you and whoever's watching out there.
Yeah. No, that's dope, man. Yeah, that's not one you're gonna turn down because that was it Sevilla or where was it?
Valencia.
Valencia.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, it's beautiful, man. They were
Oh,
like, "You want to come back and do it again?" I was like, "Yep."
yeah, I guess so. If I have to.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, yeah, definitely keep us posted. I want to see Bacon Monsters. I'm ready for the async drop. All the things. Everybody, if you can, show up at NFT Land, literally at NFT Land on Twitter, and make sure you report anybody that's using his likeness for things.
I was gonna slip in a joke about VCon there.
And then just want to shout out everybody for listening either now or after the fact. Do appreciate your support. If you have not downloaded Huddle In, it's very easy to do. Go to your app store, HUDDLN. And anybody that's tuned in now or after the fact, you've got one day to tweet below this live stream. You get 10 XP just for clicking on a link. It's free to do, no gas, nothing like that. And we'll have some cool rewards coming from it. Rizzle, I appreciate you, my man. And we will catch up again, hopefully sometime soon. Thank you.
Let's do it, man. We got to get on the court again someday. We're due for another match.
Yeah,
Yo,
I'm
it's been
good.
great, man. Really appreciate you.